Welcome back to the Comics Aficionados live right here on Thinking Critical YouTube for a wonderful Saturday. We got the Christmas tree up. Hopefully everyone is entering Christmas season. Obviously in the U.S. it's probably heading towards Thanksgiving season, but we should have a good time here. We got a fantastic panel. Aaron Sparrow was not with us as he is in New Jersey at some type of convention. Apparently I upset people. They're already talking crap on him because I said New Jersey was the hemorrhoid of the U.S. You know, obviously I was just joking. I didn't mean it, but he's taking it on the chin. But we do have a fantastic panel to talk about all the things going on. Welcome back to the channel, Perch. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, doing great. It's been a while, so glad to be back on. Glad to be back in the U.S. Been out quite a bit this year, so glad to be here.
Man, so you live in Texas, right?
In theory, yeah.
Do you still go to the Texas Roadhouse?
I have gone to the Texas Roadhouse. It's been a while, but yes, I've got my fill of barbecue now at this point.
You've had your fill of barbecue. Is that even possible?
It's possible. It sounds like, I know people may disagree, but trust me, you haven't enough. There's a limit.
Josh, is that possible? You're in Texas. Can you get enough barbecue? I'm from Missouri. We love barbecue.
Never.
Yeah.
I have to ask, if
Yes.
you're already in Texas, is Texas Roadhouse, isn't it just the Roadhouse? And then does Patrick Swayze show up?
If only.
Okay.
But no, we still call it Texas Roadhouse. And yeah, what's interesting is when I lived in California and people would come out from Texas, my California friends would be like, "Oh, you should take them to Texas Roadhouse." I'm like,
Yeah.
Why? That's stupid. No.
I'm going to be going to Manila in January, and I will be running by the Texas Roadhouse because there's one in the entire country.
I would be curious to see Manila's Texas Roadhouse menu because I'm sure there's differences, right?
Yeah, it has fun.
I'm sure they got some like sisig or something on the menu or something weird that you shouldn't buy when you're there. But I'm excited for a good steak. I haven't had a good steak in a long time. It does not happen all that bad or often. We do have a super chat here for you, Perch. This is Lane. Perch, I realized your channel is the Chris Claremont of comics. Good vids, some bad, but always well told. I hope, oh my goodness, I lost my spot. I hope you will keep the channel going. It's important to comics. We need your voice in it.
Very, very nice, other than some bad. I don't know what you're talking about, Lane. Everything is gold, every piece.
Yeah, this guy's never delivered anything but winners. You never had a stinker, right?
No, for sure. Never. Actually, there's, I don't think a lot of the audience here will enjoy it, but there's an interview coming up, should drop here in a few days when it's done, but it's from the writer of the Boondocks and a very completely different perspective on things. And it's fun to listen to. It's good to hear those people.
Well, I'm certain a lot of people want to listen to that interview. Any interview you do is like 20,000 views minimum.
They get promoted other places, so they do better. Yeah.
Yeah, so everybody wants to hear your interviews because you ask the tough questions, Perch.
Or sort of, yeah. Different questions anyway.
Exploding pretty.
Oh, Jesus.
Sir Perch Perchington, first of his name, Lord of the House of Pooh Bears.
Yeah, that name springs from somebody sending me porn spam, so that's the origin of that.
Very nice.
Yeah,
people send you did they sign your?
No, we've all. I mean, you get those emails like, "Hey, would you like to get into this or whatever?" But they started sending it to Perch P. Perchington, like it was a real name, and I find it hilarious. But there you are.
I thought maybe they were taking your official Gmail and put it into Pornhub or something.
Oh, if only.
Just a little porn spam.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that would be great, but no.
Who else we got here? We do have a comic book retailer, which is going to be very key to what we're talking about today. Yule Carter from Fantastic Comics. How you doing, Yule?
I'm wonderful. I wanted to let you know that there was another super chat at the very beginning of the scroll.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those two were specifically added or at Perch, so we'll get to the other more.
I just wanted to. I didn't want anybody getting upset.
No. The StreamYard in the last 3 months has a little function now where it actually just puts them all on its own tab now, which I do appreciate because I would miss them from time to time.
Yeah, I see. Things are great. I want to talk about stuff, so let's move it on.
Did you enjoy this week's ASM? We were talking about it. Yeah. We had amazing Ed McGuinness art for a Rec Rap story with a 3 pages interlude about gang war. I was confused.
Yeah, I was not a fan of the Rec Rap the first time we saw him. I feel like of all the shit talking that ASM gets, it definitely is warranted when it came to like that dark web stuff. There was just nothing of value there, and if there was and it was Rec Rap, then it was less than value. But Ed McGuinness's art is excellent, and I am excited for the Gang War storyline. So there is something that people can like in this book.
Yeah, the Tombstone stuff has been the best stuff that Zeb Wells has done, and obviously he's going to play a big part in it. So should be very exciting. Who else we got here? We got Drew from Comics Elite, aka Dolan, the man behind Unholy Nightmare #1, fully funded on Kickstarter. How you doing, Drew?
I'm doing great, Wes. Glad to be here. We had some barbecue last night, actually. One of our customers from the Whatnot channel bought us all this huge, massive platter from a local barbecue place. So we had a bunch of pulled pork, pulled chicken, greens, mac and cheese. Great night.
Hey, you're trying to make me jealous.
Yeah.
Good.
Hungry.
So how's Unholy Nightmare coming along? Are you satisfied, or are you looking for more?
No, I'm looking for more. You know, I want us to get to 9K. 9K is my personal goal. That's when we can officially start production on issue 2. And what makes issue 2 special is that we're going to officially have Aaron Sparrow on board as the editor of the series going forward. So as soon as we get to 9, that's when I know. Tell Aaron, hey man, time to get to work.
If you have not backed Unholy Nightmare #1 yet on Kickstarter, there is a link in the video description. So if you want to go check it out, Drew and Aurelio have a lot of nice perks on there and stuff. And I'm glad that it happened. I know you were feeling a little bit nervous last week.
Oh, absolutely, very nervous. Yeah, and because the first time when you put your own money into something, you put your own money into a campaign, and you're just hoping to make your goal, and finally it does. It alleviates a lot of the pressure. But now it's like in campaigns they hit like a low point a couple weeks through. But I really want to try to get it pushing through and moving again right now at that point.
Very nice. Who else we got? We got Josh McDonald, the man that's most likely to have seen the Marvels already. How was the movie?
Not great.
Oh, I knew it. I knew you went.
Yeah. No, I mean, look,
Thursday.
I've got AMC stubs. I've got the A-list pass. So I'm getting charged whether I see a movie or not. So I might as well go see them. It could have been good, but it wasn't good.
Well, that's disappointing.
Yeah.
But could it have been good? Really?
No, the what the plot actually was a really good idea. They just, only focused like 5% of the movie on it, and then decided to have a bunch of jokes and stupid shit, and a dancing, singing planet where people communicate through song and dance.
Yeah.
I heard there's a plot element where cats take over a space station.
Yeah, okay, so that is legitimately the funniest scene in the entire. It's stupid. It's so stupid, but the way it's executed is so fucking hilarious. My entire theater was just, all of us were laughing. So
Rec Rap was in it, is what you're saying?
No.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I interrupted you, Perch.
No. In terms of the plot, are you talking about the Civil War plot or the Freaky Friday plot?
The more of the Civil War plot. But what Captain Marvel's role, Carol's role, was in that they just gloss over it in exposition. And had you started the film kind of setting that up,
Sure.
You would. This movie does not have a first act. Like structurally, it does not have a first act. It just jumps right into the second act, and you're trying to figure out what the hell's going on.
Cool.
But had they used the first act to actually set that narrative up and make a focus of it, you probably could have had a good film.
Well, my 10-year-old daughter is very excited to see it, and nobody else in the family is. So we'll see what goes on this afternoon.
It's fun and entertaining. I enjoyed it more than Captain Marvel, but it's not a good film.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like my 8-year-old made my wife go see Beast Wars.
Yeah.
No one was looking forward to it, but he sure liked it.
Josh,
I'll
was
do a
better
video
than-
where she just my 10-year-old daughter just does the video just by herself, and you can all just gushing over this film, and we'll see. We'll try that.
Well, hopefully she enjoys it.
Why not?
Was it better than Wakanda Forever, Josh?
No, never, ever.
He thought
Come on,
that
what
should
kind of
have won
question
an
is that?
Academy? Like best picture. All right, Doc, you jumping in here. You and I are going to be reviewing Thanos #1 on Monday. We haven't gotten into that, but how you been, buddy? You feeling all right?
My fucking back's killing me, but I'm good.
Your back's hurting you?
Yeah,
From carrying the show?
Yeah,
Oh,
from
my
carrying
goodness.
the show.
A lot of
And-
dead weight around here.
And 2 bulging discs, but also carrying the show. Yeah.
Yeah, it happens. All right, so Thanos, by the way, number one, you'll do your review later, I'm sure, but that had perhaps the most irritating panel I've seen in a comic book in several months for me. And it's this bit where the girl can't figure out who Reed Richards is, and she's like, "You're Mr. Great? I don't know." And then the Blue Marble comes in, and she's like, "I know exactly who you are. Listen to all your podcasts and everything." These kinds of scenes just drive me insane.
Well, that's
But
Chris
nobody
Cantwell
else saw
for
it.
you.
Yeah.
Let's say hello to the Patreon backers, and definitely thank you very much for everyone for supporting me on the Patreon. Oh my goodness, here's the list. Thank you very much to Ryan Wilson, aka Quantum Ryan, the protector of the lost city of Roanoke. We've also got Domesticated Giraffe, aka Nextfire, the protector of the Serengeti. Thank you very much to JK, aka Justice Kicker, protecting the people of Nerd Haven. We've also got Yule Carter, the Blue Heel himself, protector of Berkeley, California, Marvel 2099, aka Future Flare, protector of Nova City. We've got Matthew Worley, also known as Mighty Matt, protector of Metropolis, Jack Halsey, also known as Jackson Forever. In my home state of Missouri, protecting Independence. Weird Science Jim, the Steel City Cynic himself, protecting Pittsburgh. Jordan Fugate, the Ember Enforcer. We got Pleb Montaigne, aka the Royalist, Sovereign of the Triangle Defender of the Faith. Jonathan Spade, the Sidewalk Savior, protecting the people of Alley Side. Randy P. Zenstar, protecting the people of Equilibria. And finally, Angela Umbrello, Eternal Angel, protector of the innocent and the vulnerable. There we go. Thank you very much to everyone for supporting us on Patreon. There's a link if you were interested in the Patreon right now. And we do have you can get a free week trial right now as well. And we do have a few other things. We do have Michael, top of the morning to everybody. Got to do a laminate floor this morning, but I'll catch a show later. We'll have very fun with that, man. And it'll be a good show.
You can listen to the show while you're doing the floor. You'll make that floor job easier. I'm just saying.
Absolutely. It'll take your mind right off the laminating job. Caleb says, Friday Night Tights talked about the Marvels. Wow, and I think the writers have the same IQ as Vita because they don't know anything about astrology. Does anyone really know anything about astrology? It's not even real science.
No, it's fake.
Did he mean astronomy?
Maybe he meant astronomy or astrology. Yeah.
Astronomy now. Yeah, different story.
Yeah. What did you think, Josh? Do you think that the writers had a low IQ, or do you think the movie was just chopped up? Because that's what it sounds like to me. That you could tell that they cut a bunch out.
It sounds like it was chopped up, and if you've seen it in a lot of reviews where they're like, "Hey, don't think about it," it's the whole astronomical aspects, space-time aspects, and the Freaky Friday-ish aspect. Don't think about it. If you don't think about it, you might enjoy it. But I was trying not to think about it, and there were times I was like, "That doesn't make sense." Or
a good way to describe a lot of Marvel and DC comics this week too.
Oh yeah.
Adam Frey, I'm dropping cash so Wes can buy Perch a beer and tell him his commenters love him, and also he needs to bring back K-pop clips in his videos. Hi, Perch. Don't end the channel. You don't believe people love you, Perch?
I think people love me just fine. No, it's fine. It's a wonderful audience. No worries there, Adam. Everything is good. And people keep asking, I mean, at the end of the Sean Murphy interview, now I know there was a big distraction with that video as everybody believed that Sean announced that every single character he'd write for the foreseeable future would be gay. But at the end of that interview, we talk exactly about what's happening after the channel. So, which, I don't know, seems pretty good for me, but we'll see.
So the channel's over?
It'll wrap up, and it kind of has to.
Wind it down?
Yeah, it's going to wind down forever, but it's wrapping up, and then we'll move on to the next thing. Next thing will be pretty cool.
Are you want to sell me the channel? I can pretend that I'm Perch. I won't have my face on there.
Why not?
I'll try to have like a really distinct booming voice like you.
Oh, well, there you go. You can also have weaker takes, and it will just fit right in.
Weaker takes? You got some of the sickest takes.
No, it's all good. It's all good. People will be happy with the way it goes.
All right. Well, there you go. It's all going to work out, people. You don't need to worry. Perch is a man with a plan.
It's all going to work out.
Any chance Perch and Aaron interview on the Perch channel?
You said Perch Chan or Perch Chan. I don't know if maybe that's a backward insult.
Perch Chan.
Sure. Why not?
You got
We'll
like
do it.
like a 4chan alternative for nerds?
Yeah, there you go. Yes.
Wait.
Sure. Why not?
4chan isn't for nerds.
I thought 4chan was.
I mean, I don't
That's
do
not
that.
porn?
I
I'm not
feel
sure.
like I'm not.
I've never been on 4chan really.
I haven't either.
I tried Reddit.
Yeah, I think
once,
it's
it
where the
wasn't for
nerds
me.
go already.
Oh,
That's
my
what I
bad.
think.
Where they live. Yeah.
Yeah, you should definitely interview Aaron Sparrow. He's great.
I agree.
Calb says, this is me speculating, but I think the movie's message is it's okay if a woman does it, and it's genocidal because Danvers is not a hero.
She's a military person, right?
Well, apparently
yeah.
what she did in the first movie caused a civil war, and like entire races of people were wiped out because of her actions. And she's not really held accountable, is what I understand, but I have not seen the movie, Josh.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. She's not held accountable because it's really a situation where people can't stop her.
Isn't this like 30 years later anyway, though?
Yeah,
From the first movie?
How'd
she get so
you
young?
it feels like you're missing a movie in between these movies, if I'm being honest. But
I won't do it either.
yeah,
I won't
I'm
watch
just-
that one either.
It's like when you watch the Batman, you're like, where's the first movie where he wins?
But she carries a lot of guilt for what happened. They just take
Well,
an
as long
hour
as she
before
feels
they even,
bad.
Yeah,
That's
I
really
mean,
the best
Come on,
punishment.
Callum, please.
It was like
She-
when Dana White was like, are you going to be suspended for slapping your wife on New Year's Eve? He's like, listen, no one feels worse about this than me, and I'm going to have to live with it for the rest of my life. That's punishment enough. Am I right? I feel terrible.
Look, I mean, it's simple. Bitches be crazy.
there we go. Perch is on it.
Cal wants to know, is the seeing Prince a cuck?
He's barely in it. I know he's a really famous Korean actor. Like he gets maybe 5 minutes of screen time, and nothing to like. If he's a famous actor, he's wasted. I'll just put it that way.
There you go. Lane says there seems to be a silly amount of books coming next week. Well, there better be because there really hasn't been any books for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, the comics are wrapping up. I mean, we did. Man, it was when I guess we were talking to Joe Casey a while back, and we were looking at the comic orders per month for the last 3 years. They continue to ratchet up. I mean, I don't know what you're seeing in the catalog, but in the last couple months, we've seen more books go out for the month than the past 2 years. We're well over averaging over 650 books a month at this point. Now, no shop is sanely ordering that much, but more than anything, I think we're going to talk about in terms of direct market and everything else. That is insanity.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Marvel is back up to like 80 something again. Just themselves. And their books on average are like almost $5 now. Caleb says, and I take back every negative thing I said about Spider-Man's love life with MJ. He and her need competent writers, and she needs to be his best girl.
Yeah. Next, it's gonna be Lane. I can't.
Are you ready to take it back, Yule? Are you ready to jump on the Peter Parker
Look,
MJ
I've
bandwagon?
told you guys what I'm willing to accept as far as Spider-Man and Peter Parker and going out west with Mary Jane and having a romance comic. Let Miles be Spider-Man only. That's fine. We can do that.
Nobody
Y'all
wants
want
that.
a
Come on.
lifetime romance? Let's do it. Boom. Lifetime. Spider-Man. Peter Parker.
You could be a hero
Mary Jane.
and a husband too. It doesn't make you like.
You could be a hero. You could get a job, actually like go to your job, not fuck around with criminals all the time. It's not your job. Your job is your job. Yeah.
Wow, Mr.
Peter should
Sunshine.
definitely monetize the superhero game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Well, that's what the Avengers are for, right?
Yeah, I mean, screw it. Why is
At least at
Spider-Man
one
need to be-
time, right? Wasn't that like $2,000 a week or something Spidey asked for?
Yeah, with great
get, like, a
power, it's
stipend?
enough responsibility at this point.
Yeah.
We've had enough.
He says, I'll admit I'm a boomer to X-Men lore because there's so much, but after researching, I understand why Doc is upset with the recent changes.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. I mean, it's a bad comic written by incompetent people.
I actually read X-Force this week for the first time in like probably, 15 months. And they were on the exact same storyline, Doc. It was still the Russian nesting doll thing.
Yeah, I am not at all fucking surprised. Ben Percy had one honestly, it wasn't even that good of an idea. That was like a shell of an idea. they're still fucking doing it. There's a reason why he won't leave X-Men. It's because no one else fucking wants him for anything.
He wrote a podcast.
I don't give a shit.
Did you read X-Force, Perch?
Yeah, it's terrible. Look, there's been two plot lines this entire time. You've got Beast is dodgy and Colossus is dodgy. And that's
he was still fighting his brother.
Yeah.
I was like, that was what I left 15 months ago. I couldn't believe it.
And we still have to get back to Beast is dodgy. That storyline is still
the big finale.
Yeah, where Beast has just become Dark Beast, which fine, whatever. I mean, if that's what you wanted, then you already had that character. Why you had to turn this one into that one? I don't understand.
I feel a mild amount of vindication because when this series came out, when this all started, I thought Ben Percy's books were fairly weak. And that was not the popular opinion at the time when these books were starting. It's like, well, these are the shining parts of the line. And maybe that's also a true statement, but there's nothing going on. These are not good books.
Honestly, I you know what? I didn't even like much of Hickman's early stuff because he's not fucking doing anything. I mean, what was it? The third issue, he had the old ladies with the fucking gardening club. Yeah, the old ladies in a garden club.
That was issue 2.
Okay, 2. Okay, yeah, so I gave him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. I figured he'd wait until issue 3 to waste my fucking money like that. No, he did it on issue 2. Yeah, they never had any intention of doing.
I thought the villains in the beginning of X-Force were pretty good though, where they infiltrated the islands, getting Domino and
killed Professor X immediately.
But remember, they that's the problem. They killed Professor X. And I remember at the end of the issue, I'm sitting there going, why should I give a shit? Why should I give a shit? You're on Resurrection Island. Why does it fucking matter?
All right. We don't want to go down that dark rabbit hole. Dark Bobcat says, hi, Perch. And the rest of you are okay too.
Dude, you can't disrespect Wes and these guys on Wes's channel. Come on.
Yeah,
I'm the least important person here today.
Paid money.
I'll accept
it. Special guest. It's even in the details. I can refer to you as special guest Perch.
Yeah, guest. Anyway, thank you, Darth Bobcat, and thank you for funding Wes.
Well, I appreciate the support.
Yeah,
it's all good. We did have an op-ed piece come out this week that got a lot of people talking, including myself. I'm not sure if you actually found the time to cover this one as well, Perch. I did see you talking about it on social media, but Phil Boyle, who owns Coliseum of Comics, a chain of stores in Florida, wrote a piece. It was on ICV2.com. It was in Bounding into Comics. I'm not sure if it was anywhere else. Kind of talking about what the state of the direct market is right now. And even firmly stating, Perch, that they've got 2 years, DC and Marvel have 2 years to turn this around, or there might not be a direct market to save. I haven't heard a number that early. I was a little surprised by that, but I've been hearing a lot of retailers very frustrated.
Sure, and I did do a video on, but the where I am now with things, that video will come out like 3 months from now, and everyone has forgotten it. So there you go. Look forward to that in the future. But the funny part about it is you read that article, and it certainly got a bunch of people pissed off, and the usual suspects were getting angry. I saw Eric Larson in there going, "If you don't think we're working hard enough, then I got another thing to tell you." And it's like, buddy, this is a business where you have members of the big two, people who do work, who are having to chase people down for the royalty checks, can't get an answer from editorial. So now is not the time to throw down the all working very hard flag. Go fuck yourself. But anyway, this, Phil Boyle, it's funny though, because the stuff he mentions, it's hard to get really excited about some of these comments because it's stuff that has literally been said for years. It's like, hey, variant covers are a scheme and it's problematic over time for our business model. Hey, you're shipping too many comics. Hey, you're taking recognizable brands and you're changing those brands. And we want to, you want to go down the kind of racism and bigotry rabbit hole when you talk about stuff like that. But at the end of the day, look, Superman looks a certain way around the world. Everybody recognizes him. If you're going to change that, more power to you, but you're going to have a brand problem unless you invest a lot of work into it. And Marvel has invested a lot of work into Miles Morales. Now, people may like it, may not. And I still think the Spider-Man name's more of an obstacle for him than anything. But that's one example of something that's worked with a new legacy character. There's 500 that haven't because you haven't put in the work and you give up after a couple months and you try something new. I mean, hey, Blade's daughter, anyone? How's that going? But all this stuff is silly, but it's all stuff we've heard. So it's nice to see Phil commenting about it. But, like, what next? And for the 2 years, Sure. Comics. I went to a comic shop last night with my daughter. She was surprised by the fact that comics represented a tiny, tiny corner of the store. It was packed of people playing tabletop games, and that's what you see. And it smelled pretty bad too. But and that's what you see now. The shops are changing, so the vehicle for new comics in this market in comic shops, it's just changing fast. And if you're the big two, your power is eroding quickly in this area. Sorry.
Yeah.
Hey,
I go ahead, Doc.
I was gonna say, I'm kind of torn on this whole thing because at the beginning of this whole mistaken last 10 years, when they first started this shit, the initial response was timid. I mean, it was just kind of a, hey, guys, you might want to do this. You're just doing this for like a short period of time, right? And then as it kept going, the response got more intense. I feel like we had the wrong response to the comic industry, especially to the publishers. It needs to, but you're also in a catch-22. If you would have actually had a vitriolic, don't you fucking dare response to the publishers immediately, it might have scared the shit out of them enough to stop. But at the same time, then you're just justifying the reactionary, crazy fanboys thing. So you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, and fuck these people and let them set their IP on fire. Okay.
I think even if you had that response early on, though, I don't think it would have changed anything. At the time that they really started, leaning into this, it was more limited in terms of the books and the characters they were doing it with. And you already had people kind of having that reaction of not wanting it. But because it was so limited and because people were having slightly stronger reactions to it, it kind of let them have that, oh, you're just a bigot, or, oh, you don't want diversity conversation. And you had so many people that didn't want to go against the grain, and you had the whole Comicsgate conversation going on that so many people didn't speak out or didn't say, yeah, no, I agree, this isn't a good path. Also, we have to keep in mind, when businesses would run the way they used to run, it was very much a situation, toe the company line, but if you have something negative to say, just don't say it publicly. And I kind of miss those days to a degree. But you also didn't have creators out there acting like complete morons and idiots on social media and, calling people out to the degree that we do now. So it's an interesting standpoint. I do want to point out that the whole 2 year thing, that's a very, very generous time span. I don't think most comic shops have 2 years. That's me speaking as someone who works in the financial industry, but also knows people that are comic shop owners. And a lot of them are saying they're banking heavily on what this holiday season is going to look like. And going into next year, they'll make decisions. So,
yeah. I mean, the businesses are going to change. And probably as you know, and as you see, it's not like one day everybody wakes up and the doors close. What will happen is it's just going to erode the foundation. And like the shop last night that I went into, their money is now from tabletop gaming. That's where they're going to go. And so it's a lot of this has already started. If you're a publisher, it's kind of too late. You don't really have 2 years to fix it. You have 4 years in the past to fix it at this point. You've got to build the channel and you've got to get supply chain moving and all the things you're doing. It's once businesses start to pivot their model and what they're dependent on, you kind of lost that as an anchor.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think, if people had spoken up in a different way, I mean, there's a lot of blame that goes around. Well, if everybody just would have said no 4 years ago, I agree. I don't think anything would change. 10 years ago, it still wouldn't have changed. Mm-hmm. I think, what you got to understand is Marvel for years, like into the 80s, always has believed that they know what's right for the market. They know what goes into the comics. They know better. And for a long time, they were correct. They were able to predict things. Now, certainly they had their flaws, but Marvel's been an arrogant bunch of people for a very long time of being right. So if everybody would have spoken up and said, this isn't working, Marvel would have done what they've done historically. I'm like, yeah, it is. You're wrong. I mean, it wouldn't have played out much differently, unfortunately.
Distinctly possible. Although DC probably could have been scared into it and away from, DCU.
Yeah,
they might have been scared away from it.
it's possible, but I think the retailers, I mean, everybody's terrified of everybody else. I mean, the retailers largely are terrified that if they really make a lot of noise and get people pissed off, that they're going to get, less consideration, less support, so it's this ecosystem that is very much attached to each other. And it's not like the healthiest thing, quite frankly, for the retailers to do that they should have done 10 years ago was diversify their business, get into more of this gaming earlier, stabilize the base outside of comics. That would have sent the best message.
Can I ask the question? What's less than the zero support they're getting right now, since the retailers have to promote all the books and sell them and get a shitty discount?
Yeah.
And so there's a less than that?
It's absurd. You're right, by the way. And it's the same mentality where you have a creator who hasn't gotten paid, who's promised a royalty check and hasn't gotten it, but is afraid to say anything against the company that is stiffing them because they might be angry, and figure that one out. It's a kind of gambler mentality of, if I say something bad now, then they could punish me more, but I'm already getting nothing. So, it's unfortunately, it's a sad cycle.
Agreed.
Where's Yul to answer that question?
I'm just listening. I asked to be on this show, and I want to let everybody know that I'm not going to diversify. I refuse to sell anything else other than comic books, because I don't want to sell anything. If I was going to sell something, there's a yoga studio down the street. I need a Spider-Man yoga mat. Okay. I'm not going to sell that either, because I have no desire to do that. I'll order it for you. Okay. I'll have a few other things in my store. So having said that, sorry that Wes, Fantastic Comics has a Patreon also.
Absolutely.
No, I'm just joking. I fear all of this stuff. I mean, number one, the comics have to still keep coming out for me to sell them. If, let's just say, Marvel and DC close up shop and nobody really wants to pay the money that it costs to get Spider-Man or whatever, there'll be a weird day when that happens, when Marvel and DC aren't publishing. It happened close a couple of times in the past, but I think the thing I worry about most is people just not coming in and buying those things also. I have a really strong core audience. I'm getting newer people because of some other things that are coming out, Transformers next week, that kind of stuff. And there is some excitement I see going forward next year. I'm pretty excited about the Ultimate stuff. It's like I can still read some superhero stuff without having to deal with all that, stuff that I don't want to read anymore. And DC, there's a Joe Casey book coming out. Mark Millar said he was going to do something, right? So there's a few things. They're not anything you can really like plant the flag in the ground for. But there are some good things. Transformers is going to be going on. You got that whole Energon universe thing that Kirkman's doing. There's exciting stuff. It is inherent on the comic store owners to let people know that these things are good. It can't just be, the comic review sites and the people doing it. Unfortunately, a lot of what the article mentioned was that, and you guys were just talking about how stores don't get any help from Marvel or DC. Geez, Vault just last week gave us comic books for free to give to people so that they might want to buy the second and third issue. And it was a hit. I got people actually liking that book. So, it can be done. There are things that you can do. I mean, it doesn't have to go, you don't have to be that extreme, but returnability is usually one of those things I think is a good thing. Getting the shipping to be cheaper. There's a lot of things like that. But if the comics aren't going to be coming out, or they're not going to be coming out with quality that's going to drive people to the store, I just won't have a store anymore, or I'll just keep selling my back stock and just fuck around on something on the computer until there is no more.
So when you say you don't want to diversify, are you saying you only want to do like superhero comics, or
No,
are you...
I diversify
Yeah.
within comic books. I've got back issues. I've got expensive back issues. I'm always buying collections. Oh, here's something that's exciting that's going to be happening, or kind of not exciting, depending on how you look at it. There's going to be a Magic the Gathering Marvel crossover. Holy cow. Now all those kids that do spend $5 on cards might actually want to come in and read about the character they're kicking ass with. So
I
like
haven't
there
even
are
heard of that.
some
When is that happening?
sometime next year. I mean, how many boxes do I have to get of this shit? But that's exciting.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it could be horrible because, you know, it's just probably something that adults are going to buy in mass quantities, and it's going to be really expensive, and the kids won't really buy it and play it because they just want to play an ogre or something instead. But it could work. You know, HeroClix worked for a while. You know, people would come in and buy the comics because they were playing the stupid HeroClix. You're backing up your mass, you know, HeroClix take up so much space, and you're going to do that with comics on top of it. You're crazy.
But it's a good idea. It's kind of like what DC did with their mobile game, except, you know, people that are in mobile game culture aren't used to spending $5 a pop for a product. They're used to spending, you know, a time or money even online with clickable stuff. So now you are bringing an audience, you know, in theory, that are used to spending somewhat that kind of amount and getting that type of product. There feels like there could be some ability to turn an audience over there.
It's possible. Now, for what it's worth, we've tried this before. I think Boom did this. We'll see. We'll see if this one lands. There's not a great track record, but you know, glass half full, man. You know, good for you. You're not going to get into the Funko Pop aisle in your shop, and you know.
Well, I mean, necessity makes it that way now, but even when we were a large store, we had a shelf of Funko Pops, but I've seen stores where it's the majority of.
Sure.
I mean, geez, GameStop had
wall.
more Funko Pops than games sometimes.
Yeah, it's true. Somebody in the comments mentioned something I think pretty smart, which is, you know, to Doc's earlier point of like more people should have spoken up. Another maybe kind of a slight twist on that is there were people who had the kind of million subscriber YouTube channels who not only didn't speak up and Marvel would listen to them, or they were a bigger voice, but were actively cheering on these changes and talking about how great they all were, from variant covers to other things. That is, to me, that was a lot more criminal. Of, you know, these guys knew these were bad ideas. They endorsed them anyway because they wanted invites to a Marvel party at a con or whatever it happened to be. They wanted that promotion for their channel, and they basically clapped Marvel on as they drove straight off the cliff. And that's that. And meanwhile, other people in the industry are getting this mentioned stiffed. They're not getting their money. They're getting stuff stolen from them. And magically, none of those big channels covered any of that, because the second you do, then you know you're labeled a hate group. So I mean, that to me is a bigger problem.
Well, I think it might have had something to do with the fact that those million subscriber channels, they were applauded because they were, I wouldn't say paid, but
they were paid.
They had access.
Yeah, they had access. They were rewarded very, very clearly for it. So they wouldn't.
But to be clear, some of them were rewarded with cash.
Yeah. Okay.
They were paid. Yes.
I wasn't going to say that they were paid because I don't know for certain, but they were definitely rewarded.
Sure.
Well, I mean, you've even heard from Jim and I talking about where, you know, people from specifically DC have come and blatantly said, hey, if you're nicer about this, we'll allow you to do A, B, and C. If you're not, we might restrict your access.
Yep. No,
you know,
for sure.
And then I've talked about, you know, meeting people from different sites or videos at cons, and they openly will discuss that they have policies that they're not going to be mean because they either want to get in the industry or they want these benefits. So they won't be honest. And behind the scenes, Perch is right. They're talking shit about all this stuff, but on their sites and in public venues and on social media, they're as positive as can be. How can you say that? How dare you say that? And I'm like, dude, if I released, I wouldn't do this because I'm not that person, but I could release DMs that would make people look like fucking terrible people.
100%. I'm in some of those groups. Same thing. A lot of these big names will absolutely talk about how these things are disastrous business decisions in private. They then go on their channel and mug and look goofy as they hold up variant cover H of a book that has no chance of surviving beyond 4 issues. And those people, I think, are by far the ones who have driven more harm here.
In fairness,
But they were incentivized first, like Steve Fox, who's doing some really, really terrible work in the X-Men line at Marvel. I think 18 months ago, he was writing articles and doing reviews.
Sure. It's an incestuous system, no doubt about it.
and I think we've talked about it when we've talked about Wizard back in the day. That's they started us down that path with the fucking fanzines turning into their gateway into work at the big two, and it's just evolved into digital media and vlogs and blogs and message boards. It's always, I will publicly fillet your product if you give me work. It doesn't matter how shitty it is.
I look, it pains me to say it. I agree with you. I liked Wizard back in the day. I think Wizard provided some nice promotion for things back in the day, but it was absolutely a shill mag, no doubt about it. And we've seen that kind of transform from the benefit that Wizard has was it was a magazine and a brand that was doing this. And now you've got individuals. And I think there is a shift there where it's a person who, it's more about the voice of the commentator, whereas Wizard was a magazine. But you're right. You're absolutely right.
There was I remember there was a YouTuber out there that said something about comic stores being, owners being complicit in continuing the bad behavior or allowing the bad behavior to exist within Marvel and DC and all these other comic companies. And that's some bullshit. I just want everybody to know. I'm just trying to sell comic books because I like comics. And there's a lot of comics out there that people buy that I can't stand. Okay. And people say it's great. People have said it's great. It boggles my mind that people I can respect can like something so horribly bad. But that doesn't matter, is what I'm saying. Yeah. So as far as being complicit in selling comics, yes, I am complicit in selling comics. I am not continuing their bad behavior. I am not allowing them to. I'm looking at numbers, and unless it's something that I care about, that's when I ignore numbers. You know what I mean? Like, sure. I'll get more of that gone number 2, regardless if people buy it.
The role of the shop is to sell what the customers want.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not there to engage in a picket strike from somebody online who's pissed off. I'm sorry.
Right. Yeah,
that was crap.
Like if Tynion's selling, then he's my favorite guy. If oh my God, Teenie Howard actually is selling, she's the best writer in my store. I can't help it. Hopefully it's good numbers.
You sell what people want. That's the B and the B to B to C. That's what we retailers are. You sell what people want. If you're going against your audience, there's a problem for sure. But that narrative got really strong. Like, well, the shop owners should all rise up and demand Marvel change. Yeah, good.
Well, that would have been like everybody stopped. Why didn't everybody stop buying the comics in the same week too? Then I mean, they'll notice then. Yeah, right. Some speculator will go get every one of those books, and you're going to be screwed.
Oh fuck yeah!
Enjoy.
The same way. Well, the retailers need to stop supporting the variant gimmick, and I've said the same thing. And that, it'd be wonderful.
I stopped ordering variants, and I lost money.
I know.
What I mean?
Exactly.
What
That's
do you
the
do?
thing. Yeah.
I'm going to make a stand. You're only going to buy the books.
Yeah. I mean, that would be spectacular. Fine. But guess what? There's always going to be somebody willing to fucking buy them. And that means there's a market out there, even if it's a shrinking market. Mm-hmm. So until they stop offering
most of my customers, the thing is that most of my customers don't buy multiple copies of comic books, whether it be multiple covers or variant covers and all that other stuff. But they will buy a variant cover of a book they don't normally buy, So, there is an aspect to that also. And it just, it's very rough being a comic store owner.
Anytime any of the people who want a comic shop to engage in some kind of boycott of comics, by all means, take some of that ad money and help fund us, and we'll be will line
Patreon, man.
up. Yeah, go to
I'll
your
stop ordering an X-Men
Yep.
for you.
Otherwise, customer is king, and if they're going to come in and buy stuff, we're going to sell what the customer wants. That's what you do.
I've heard directly from comic book shop owner, so he was talking to CB Cebulski, laying out all the issues that he had, and nothing changed. You know, remember the panel that they had where it was like an open forum, and they were saying, "Hey, this isn't working." Next thing you know, there's 5 articles calling these guys directly racist and stuff.
Yeah,
they've tried to do it; it just doesn't work.
that's correct. No, it's and that's why they're pivoting to sell other things. Not you, but many. I mean, you want to keep your store alive. If your store can stay alive selling current comics, then great, keep selling those current comics. If you want to stay in business and that can't support you and pay the bills, then better get into something else. It's pretty simple. The problem with variant covers, and again, you're right, they do sell, but the person who needs to be alarmed and address it is the publisher.
Yep.
Because it's a scheme that is ruining their own long-term success. The retailers will keep selling it to make money as long as it does make money. But the second it doesn't, the retailers will cut it all off. This is a warning sign to the publisher that you're engaging in a business practice that is bad for you.
Yeah.
Especially because a lot of comic book shops, especially for the ratio variants, obviously they end up having to buy stuff that they actually can't sell just for the opportunity to sell the one cover. If they just offered that for more, like for a higher cover price, it would probably be a better system. But you wouldn't be able to spruce up the numbers.
I also kind of want to throw into, we're talking about a lot of the quality of comics and you know, the publisher side of things, but I think the shops and Perch, Yule, Drew, I'd love to hear y'all talk about this. You're facing increased costs in so many other areas right now. That's coming, like shipping alone. I know my LCS is seeing up to like double the amount that they're paying in shipping, if not more, because they're coming from different vendors. They're losing discounts. The shipping costs in general have increased. And then just, you know, seeing the inflation and cost of other supplies that they need to get to run their store. It's just, it's like the battle, the double-edged sword of losing sales in comics, which they're seeing, but also having those increasing costs. And it's just like a double gut punch.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, in a lot of places, and it is going to get worse. Inflation's going up. There's all signs point to, at least in brick and mortar, kind of recessionary pieces around higher rent, higher utilities, all the kind of the underlying costs. It's certain cities will be, you know, better protected than others. But even, you know, what I'm doing here in Texas, it's, you know, the costs from 9 months ago to today are dramatically different in landscaping. They've gone up a lot. And so, I mean, it's just going, all this does is it forces the same action, which is the shop has to look for ways to pay those bills and get that base in. And they may love comics and they may want to be in comics, but they also have to pay rent and heat and light. Well, not in Texas. You don't need to pay heat here because it's like a burning hellhole all the time. But in general, you know, you need to have these things paid for. So like money's got to come from somewhere and the shop's going to go find it.
Agreed.
And let's hear from the peoples. We do have some super chats. Grateful Dog says, "Happy Veterans Day, Wes," from a fellow vet. Well, thank you very much for your service, and I appreciate this shout out. And happy Veterans Day to you too, brother. Nerd says, "Always hyped to see Perch, Doc, and Wes in the same space. I don't know why EVS doesn't like Perch, but if he was here too, I'd die happy. Sorry, other panelists."
Oh, I think it's.
We were all on a panel one time together, weren't we?
Yeah, it wasn't a very good one.
Not particularly, but it was also like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. It's.
I don't see that happening anytime soon, buddy.
I would not see that happening anytime soon. Yeah.
But hey, 3 out of 4 ain't bad. Caleb says, "I think CB very arrogantly thinks that Disney's money will take care of him and the company while he stuffs his face with food."
Oh, CB. I was trying to think. Is he a fact? Oh, yeah.
I mean, you know, it's a safe.
Can you say that?
9 out of 10 have that Dan slot bod.
Hey, that's a we call that retailer size.
There you go.
Well, CB was
Double
just
X
in Europe. He was probably hiring some more, what was it, Italian artists, right? He's a big talent scout. Grateful Dog. Hopefully many comic shops open milkshake stands to bring in the right comic crowd. Sergeant Rock versus Sergeant Fury, better Marvel team up or 2-in-1.
Milkshakes would be a pain in the ass in a retail shop.
Dude,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, everybody always wants something extra in my goddamn store.
There was a
and
shop
it's like, dude, I
that
just
did
want to
that
sell comic
in
books.
upstate New York and like the Buffalo area, and they just closed two stores, right?
Yeah, you can't. You mix food and comics is a bad idea. Now, alcohol and comics, there you go.
Well, we do, but that's not for sale, and it's just
No,
coming
that's
in, hanging out.
what I drink,
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Like, come on by today, guys. Got some
Yeah.
beers.
100%.
So, what's a better Marvel book, Doc? Is it Team Up or 2-in-1?
Oh, team up. That's what.
Oh, Doc
Spider-Man.
must have left. I
Thing
like 2-in-1 because
Somebody
I like
else
the Thing.
No, Thing. Seriously?
You don't like the
Spider-Man
Thing?
gives the rub, not the Thing.
I think 2-in-1 had better
Yeah,
stories.
from a
overall.
quality.
Yeah.
The only thing I like is that the Thing when he's hang out with Black Goliath, and he's like, that other guy's not calling himself Goliath, and we can tell you're black. He's like, why don't you just change your name to Goliath?
We had the
I thought
Chip
that was
Zdarsky 2-in-1 that was pretty good recently, and the Marvel Team Up book that I remember was
You know what the
Spider-Man and Miss
problem with
Marvel
the
written by
Zdarsky
E.
one is?
Ewing, and it was awful.
The problem is Jim Chang can't do 12 straight issues. It doesn't take like 3 years.
Yeah, so they go
And
through
so
three
like the
artists and
art
8 issues.
suffered, and it
Yeah.
should have been Fantastic Four. Those were the two problems with that book.
Yeah. Very much. Who do you think wins, Perch? Sergeant Rock or Sergeant Fury?
Sergeant Rock. I'll go Sergeant Rock. But which Fury are we talking about? I guess Sergeant Fury. So historical. So I go Sergeant Rock.
Yeah, it's
Sergeant
gotta
Rock
be
would
the Howling
just-
Commandos, right?
He would Rock would get himself out of just absurd situations. So Fury would too, but Rock. I mean, it never happened, but I think Rock could pretty much escape Darkseid and be just fine. It's like there were comics written there where that guy was like jumping off of all kinds of things. So I go Rock.
Chucky says, I am shutting down my shop funny business after 14 years because I just don't see much of a future in comics. Glad I got to live the dream, but I am done.
Jesus.
It's
Sorry to hear that.
that's very sad.
I understand that. I mean, how many times have I wanted to light that fire?
No, the guy who ran Xanadu up in Seattle, I remember when he retired and shut his shop down, and it's like, we're talking to him, and he's like, this is the happiest day of my life. And we're like, oh,
Yeah.
man, fuck, that's terrible.
That's the reason why I'm sticking it out, so I can have that one happy day in my life.
Yeah, there you go.
That or be the last comic standing. Yule's like the Highlander of comic shops.
Let's just say everybody in my area said, you know what, we're just going to sell games instead. I'd say, well, there's a main game store and you're going to lose. And I'm just going to take all your business. So that's fine. Do it, please.
Well, and see, you've got a point there. My LCS, they've been around for 30 years. And about 10 years ago, they started introducing games. They saw that there's a market there. They started building those large kind of expansive tabletop areas so you could play these games. And they were the only store in the market. And then about 5 years ago, you had 2 gaming stores open that's what they focused on. But they also had a just very minor focus on comics. And in the past year, there have been 2 gaming cafes that have opened. I only live in a city of 100,000 people. That's too much. It's oversaturated. Plus, we've had another just strictly comic shop open up in the mall. I'm worried they're all going to end up canceling each other out, and that's what sucks.
Yeah.
Aleb says,
does happen.
do you think people like Heather Antos wanted this to happen and thrive on chaos?
No.
I don't think they wanted it to happen. I
Maybe
just think that
part
they're
2, I agree with.
Well, they do thrive on chaos, but I don't think they wanted it to happen. They were just too fucking stupid to recognize that it would happen.
Sure. Look, I don't know. I know this theory has come out. They deliberately went in comics to wreck it. I mean, or another theory is people who are not capable of doing the job were hired to do a job that they were not capable of doing. It's like, if you, I mean, it could only make the food better, but if you have people at Arby's and they do not know how to cook or run anything, you won't be able to cook any food. Now, granted, you'll save some lives, but sorry.
I do think there's what Perch was talking about with getting the wrong people. There's a lack of experience. Like there's a point in time where we stopped building people up to be able to step into roles. And then on top of that, I think it's just a maturity piece. Like, a lot of these people that are quote unquote leaders for these companies are lacking in emotional maturity, and you see it in the public, and that's what's bad.
I'm thinking something. as an answer to that, but I'm not going to say it out loud. Okay.
Put it in the private chat.
The Nerd says, why does no one think the collapse of Marvel and DC will force a pivot to indie comics and crowdfunded works?
The volume, I mean, it can. So I mean, look, just play this out. So if Marvel and DC stop publishing comics, which they won't in a hard stop, they would slowly trickle off. They would then go to license. One of the indie companies would pick it up, and you'd stop Marvel Comics, but just run through someone else, and that could play out. So you'd see that thing. But if they stop doing it entirely, then unfortunately for the supply chain, for the operational model that they've built, it's wholly dependent on those two to put enough money into the system to make it work. So you're talking about you would collapse the comic shops, by and far. You'd have comic shops sell back issues and a handful of other small things. They would have to do other pieces, and you would have indie comics, but it would be the underground at that point. You'd see some crowdfunded stuff. It would just be very, very small, and that's the problem with where the current state works, and it's going to continue to be that way until there's new distribution channels brought up, different supply chain is there. Once there's other mechanisms, then that's actually the weak point in Marvel and DC's armor is if there's other places. I mean, you see that with Manga, they took advantage of a different distribution channel, are doing great. If indie comics or others can take advantage of a similar model, the whole world changes very quickly. But today it would wreck the whole chain.
I also am a firm believer that a lot of the big two titles, their IP is what really drives a lot of the interest in the medium at all. They like the characters, they like the medium, but they're not in love with comics as a medium. They like the storytelling. It just happens to be in that medium. And you're going to end up with, at best, kind of like farmers market level distribution where it's going to be relatively regional. You're not going to have national brands. You'll end up with a lot of regional stuff because they're not going to be able to work out a nationwide distribution chain, and there's not going to be enough of any one thing to justify it either. I just don't see it.
Calum says, don't Magic the Gathering send Pinkertons?
Pinkertons, yes, I do. That's another reason why it's like, do I really want to be supporting
the
Hasbro,
investigative
which
people?
is
Yes,
with
the
the masks
Pinkertons
and the
from,
mustaches.
Like fucking Billy the Kid?
like the private cops.
Huh.
Yes.
So there was a YouTuber that got cards early, and then they put it out on their channel, and Magic sent Pinkertons over to their house to get those cards back from them.
That's pretty lame.
Yeah, just one of the many. Do you think comics are doing bad? You should check out Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast. That is some crazy shit that's going on.
That is 100% true. Yeah.
Oh my God. And then they're going to team up with Marvel. Oh, this is just a shit show waiting to happen. I can't wait.
It is.
He also says, blame Bob Iger for the Funko situation. Plus, they make characters no one cares about, but the anime characters ironically sell better. Bob Iger, they don't own Funko.
They do not. No, I'm not sure what the connection is there, but
I think it might be some of the. I think that he's probably arguing for some of the licensing things where.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Where
Disney didn't hold a gun to Funko's head and say you have to
absolutely.
license bad Star Wars characters.
No. What it is they're releasing so many new characters, and Funko has no clue who's going to be popular. So they're basically making. They're glutting the market with unsellable product.
Oh, do they have 2.5 Men Funko Pops yet? I'm really excited.
Of course they do.
Those.
Absolutely.
Okay.
They have anything. Lone Geek actually reminded me. Yeah, no, that's true. Iger heavily invested. He bridged and funded Funko. That is true.
Well, that makes more sense.
Yeah, that's true.
I was unaware of that.
Well, blame the comic.
Bob Iger ruined everything.
But Funko is not exactly doing well. So I mean that is not a healthy company either at this point.
They're struggling. Eric O'Sullivan says, happy Veterans Day, Wes. Thank you for your service. Shout out to fellow aficionado MVP as well. And to any service person on the panel chat and watching later, I'm a civilian. I thank you. Well, thank you very much. It was my pleasure. And I appreciated the little shout out on the social medias as well. Yep. And definitely a salute to MVP and all the other veterans out there. Thank you very much for supporting the channel, and thank you very much for your service.
Hey, and real quick from text, Joe Casey is a shout out to the panel here, the Thinking Critical group, and he says he's bringing his own plan to save the direct market. So we'll look for that.
All right,
somebody needs to have a plan.
Any incentives.
Quake Geekery ICV2 showed comic shop sales growth driven by graphic novel sales, and Comics Beat showed that sales growth for adult graphic novels were driven by manga. The incentives at the big two have been screwed up for a long time.
You gotta think about what I just read.
The model is broken for sure, and the incentives are not there, and how you grow the industry. And I think there's a thing in there like you've heard a lot of people, and it was in that article, like why is Marvel pushing now all the books to $5? It's crazy that they're doing this. By contrast, manga is also raising its price, but if you look at the two, there's a dramatic difference. Manga is at a state where they can take price. It's selling. They've got an attached audience. They have a distribution channel down there. Nobody wants to see those books more expensive, but they're in a very powerful position to make more money. Marvel and DC do not. And so they're taking price is literally just trying to squeeze the last bit of blood out of that stone. And you see this in the incentives, and you see that in how they're reacting to the shop. It's a very broken system. So people in NBA need to get in there and actually fix things.
Can I ask you a follow-up on that, Perch? Viz has their regular stuff like My Hero Academia and whatnot.
Sure. And
then they have their Viz signature stuff, which is like, the guy who does Pluto and stuff like that. And those cost more money. Which do the Viz signature sell even close to the $10 model? Or
no.
Yeah, I'm just curious. Yeah.
No, and there's some experimentation going on. We can talk more about it. I know there's a super chat in there. Hello, nerdy girl, by the way, I miss you. But there is, it's manga is experimenting with some of these business models, but they did the right thing. They worked on scale first, and now they're pivoting to profit, and that's exactly the way you should do it in this market.
Yep.
Jasper Plan 9 says Yule has been diversifying. He will press your comics for $10 each. You're welcome.
There you go. Yeah.
And do you do CGC submissions too?
No, I do not. I don't. I will for free take your CGC and knock it out of the slab. Yeah.
Also, if you have a comic book you're having trouble getting a hold of, just DM Yule. He'll hook you up. He's going to get me the Batman Year One stuff. I'm super excited. Right. And the Foe 428. What do you think about that, Perch? I think like they should probably go back into that. What was it? The True Believers from Marvel, where they were printing cheaper versions of stuff that people already liked.
Yeah,
but it seems they don't want it on the market anymore.
I mean, DC, they should. Yeah, I mean, DC announced these Tonkaban style books. I think that's a smart idea. But what I don't know and what none of us know is who at Marvel or DC are going and establishing connections and going a little bit hat in hand, be humble, and saying, "Hey, Target, what's it going to take to sell our books here? What's it going to take to be in Wal-Mart? What's it going to take to be in these other stores? How do you have a super cheap pulp version that's going to go into the Dollar Tree or whatever it happened?" Like, who's in charge of doing that? Presumably somebody is, but that has to happen.
And the marketing machine to let people know it exists.
Yes, and then that actually helps shops. So the backwards part of all this is if you put kind of pulpy early editions, if you're DC, go take the Man of Steel, John Byrne, Superman stuff from forever ago. Put it in a Tonkaban book, put it in black and white, get it on the shelves. And in those books, like Viz does and like Manga does, push people to go, now go get the rest of the comics. Invest in a comic shop locator that you can have online that works with a QR code that will find the shop. Do that. Cost you very little money. You get people hooked in the mass market. You then drive them to the local comic shop. It's dead simple.
But then it's important that comic stores don't go to the one or two Walmarts in the area and then buy up all that shit.
Sure.
So that those people can't get it.
I agree. That would be
That's
stupid.
where comic store people are fucking idiots. You know what I mean?
Well, you don't
make it exclusive.
But
I don't know. There's a few things I have a problem with when they do that kind of stuff. Mostly it's because they will bend over backwards for the Target and the Walmart and the Barnes and Noble and the Dollar Tree before they do the comic store that's been open selling their shit for 15 years.
Well,
you know?
in fairness, they want Target and Walmart. They own you already.
Yeah, well, I understand that.
they can't own Target and Walmart. That's the problem. Those entities are bigger than they are. I mean, from a licensing perspective, for what they move, it's just they have the buying power.
Dude, when they did Marvel Masterwork soft covers for Barnes and Noble, they put B and N on it, okay, and allowed them to return it so that Diamond then shipped them to us when we ordered it. That's some bullshit.
Oh, for sure. I mean? That's a broken. That's not being serious about the supply chain. And as somebody again, God damn it, go get a business degree, then hire that person with that business degree, and feed this channel. The stuff we're talking about, no offense to anybody, none of these are new ideas or novel ideas. They're literally market ideas that have been around for decades.
Yep.
Every single serious business already does this shit.
Cryogenic Gamer says, seeing Perch here is certainly a rare sight.
Well, there you go. And you're not seeing me at all. It's just a logo. So there you go.
Well, Perch is a busy man. He's out of the country almost every single weekend.
I legally have to be. I have to be in a certain country at least 30 days a year.
Well, very nice. Well, next time you come to the Philippines, let me know, man. It's about time.
I agree. Well,
is it like an extradition type thing?
It's
he has to go do his jail time. He has to go do his jail time.
It's about money in bank, my friend, and tax.
Gary from Nerdy Girl Creates says, morning, guys. Just serve alcohol at the shop. It will help get through the suffering of reading this crap. There's some good stuff out there. You don't need alcohol to get through the sacrificers.
You might want to take a shot.
Maybe
afterwards.
it's probably going to get.
They're few and far between.
I will say, in my experience, people tend to spend more money if they're drunk. Just throwing that out there.
Just have a little free beer on the window. People will come in. Trust me.
Trick is have a lot to drink. See how much it takes for you to have to drink to read The Punisher and realize you're just reading the same story with Frank Castle, but no Frank Castle.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I didn't realize it was Frank Castle that was problematic and not the symbol.
Yeah, it's the Frank. Yeah. Well, Frank is a problematic name.
MVP, happy Veterans Day and happy birthday to the Marine Corps Simplified gents. Thanks for another great show today. Thank you very much. And definitely happy birthday to the Marine Corps. If you use Facebook, you will have known that it's the Marine Corps birthday for, I don't know, the last 24 hours or so. Everyone says something on Facebook. Does anyone else notice that? Or am I the only one that still uses Facebook?
I don't use Facebook.
You're the only one still using Facebook.
I haven't had.
I rarely use
I still use MySpace. Maybe I'm out of it.
Maybe.
Maybe. Thank you very much, MVP. And happy Veterans Day to you, brother. Nerdy Girl Creates Carrie. Manga costs have recently increased. Do you think manga sales might be heavily affected? I think maybe the physical copies slightly, but not to the point not to the point where people are interested in dropping.
Agreed. No, this is a classic business strategy. It's called taking price. You're taking price. You know that the market's there. You're toggling it up. You're putting 10% on it, whatever it happens to be. You're seeing what your attrition rate's going to be for that raise. They've taken a calculated, model to say, we can raise price by this much. We're going to make 20% more, and we're going to lose 4% of our audience. And that's a deal worth taking. And that's what you're seeing. And that's very normal. That's they're taking price.
Remember when UFC did that with their pay-per-view costs? It used to be $30, and next thing you know, 12 months later, it was $50 because they had a bunch of stars.
Yeah. Yeah. And every now and then they take too much price and they have to retreat back a little bit. And you'll set it. I mean, what you're going to see is they're going to take price. They're going to try and increase the margin. And then they're going to go to Target and Walmart, and they're going to offer them slightly deeper discounts in order to get more placement. So to Target and Walmart, they're still going to make the same money, and they're just going to have more volume out there and maybe get a little bit extra in the aftermarket. But that's what you'll see. It's a smart move at this moment. They're in the position they can do it, and I don't think they're going to lose audience.
Cryogenic Gamer, do you guys believe that it may be necessary to get additional laws, regulations, or some sort of oversight committee over comic publishers? I don't think the industry is big enough.
No.
Anyone would care that much.
No. That's why there's no real union.
That's the reason why there was no chance at the Diamond Monopoly lawsuit back in the 90s, because guess what? They weren't big enough for them to fucking matter then. And that's when they had a lot more volume moving.
Wait, did they have a lawsuit? I thought it was just like there's no reason to have a lawsuit because they just kind of like the only people in business.
There was an exploration, and this I don't
see.
remember if they actually tried to indict, but it was
right.
There was a law, there was a case, and basically it was determined you're too small to matter, so we're not going to bother.
Right.
Callum says, who's in charge of the blacklisting? Do you think the power went to whoever's head? Because it's ridiculous the reason why people are blacklisted.
I think it always happens and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean,
everyone's head for the most part.
And then sometimes it's self-imposed also. I mean, I remember like all those people that didn't want to work with Jim Shooter, right?
Yeah.
And so they actually moved to companies they would have never moved to. And I mean, that's not blacklisting, but in a way it kind of is. It just usually always legal. Seems like, yeah, I mean, well, so like these sewing circles and stuff like that, they've always been around, and it's always incestuous. It's just a different style these days than it was then. It feels like before it was incestuous with some talent, and then it kind of like a tape, it filters down, and each iteration of that, there's less and less of that. And at one time, there was a lot of really good talent, the fractions and other people that were questionable, maybe to some people, but of higher talent, the Rick Remenders, and now we're seeing all the dregs, and like only once in a while there's a Donny Cates that's good, or somebody else, and then everything else is like, whoever else it may be.
Yeah.
When you did this, I thought you said first they clasped the balls, and then they moved.
That's what, yeah.
What's going on here? Weird incest.
You hold them up, and
this is where all the quality is, and then each time it's a little bit less,
Well, that's very sexist right there.
I can only talk from my own point of view,
I understand.
I can't pretend I'm somebody I'm not, because I want to be a comic book writer.
But the blacklisting certainly resides in the power of the decision makers.
Yeah, and there's two things. I mean, and not to throw in a nuance, but there's like true blacklisting, which is usually generated by legal, and it's somebody who skips out on work or doesn't do something or causes the company damage. And then there's it is the same thing, but it's not being selected because you're not pals with the editor who's making the choice. And the editors all talk and then pick their favorites, and so that's not it's not a legal term, blacklisting. It's the same effect.
Yeah. Cobbett Sense says Image do have a good strategy by making the price of the very first volume of ongoing comics $9.99. They should make that the price for all their volumes.
They want to make money.
I do think it's a good price for your first trade. It's normally 4 issues, and if you really like it, you're going to want to get the second one. You want to put it on your bookshelf. So I do think that's a good strategy on Image's part, as well as their pricing for Spawn.
And they've done that for a long time. Well, that's Todd McFarlane's pig-headedness doing that. He's like, I'm going to make a point, and
well, the sales went up dramatically.
Yeah. Well, I mean, from what I understand, I've been told this. He used to, so when you have your stuff held at Diamond, in their warehouse, it costs money. And every time someone goes and reorders something, that's an extra charge on top of that. And Todd McFarlane had a shit ton of stuff at Diamond because he wanted to have it always handy and at the ready for when people would order it. But he was costing that company too much money doing that. So all that shit had to come back to Image.
Adam Frey, what happened to DC's $5 100-page giant Wal-Mart line?
All the retailers
wearing the dodo.
Yeah, there weren't big volumes of it. It was a weird size. Walmart didn't know what to do with it. They placed it in random places in the store because it was this oddball product. As you'll say, a bunch of retailers went and bought it up like idiots to put in their own store and screwed up the whole plan. And then DC didn't really commit to it. It had a very weird, shipping time. And so what you got to think for these big box stores, they need predictability. They don't want to think about your product. They're not comic shop retailers. They're not going to position it. They want something that's going to come in a box once every 2 months, and then a box to ship what didn't sell back. And they want it to run like a machine. And so you have to then deliver a product that fits that. And they just screwy what they did for everyone.
Common sense. Perch, I already told you their comics already did the Tankobon size, Strange Academy, Scales and Scoundrels, Marvel graphic novel trade paperbacks, and Joanna and Impossible Monsters.
Well,
Some do, yeah.
Hell, they back in the day, they did the Spider-Man Loves Mary Jane in the digest size.
Yeah, nobody bought it.
Nobody bought it.
It was
nobody bought it. Nobody bought it in the
that
comic
was
shops.
the best one.
Yeah, you know, you buy in the comic. You got to do two things. It's like one of the most aggravating parts of comics in this industry is there's like, you know, in order to have a successful business, anybody with a business plan will tell you, you have like multiple steps that you have to achieve. And people do one of the steps and they're like, I did the idea, we're done now. It's like, no, you idiots, you got to publish the Tankobon size. Then you have to deliver it to a store that has that as part of their market. Then you need to promote it and put the business model right. You got to do all three things. You can't just...
And you have to pick out the right stories.
Sure. Yeah, the content has to actually be relevant and work and get over your own ego. Again, John Byrne's Man of Steel, that 6-issue series, is fucking easy to put in a book and throw into a big box store for somebody who doesn't really know Superman. It's somebody pointed this out the other day, and I disagreed immediately, and I'm sure the chat will too. But then as I thought more about it, it's true. John Byrne's art is a hell of a lot closer to manga art than a lot of comic artists today. The line work and everything, it's in the same family. Weird as it sounds.
I would have chosen Man of Steel and Batman Year One as my volume 1 and 2 of Batman and Superman on Tankobon size.
Sure. And then put it, I mean, Batman Year One might have to tone down some of the stuff if you're going into a box store, but easy to do. Put that out there and just push on that and then deliver the new content to the comic stores. But you have to do all the things, not just the format.
Yeah. And we'll see what happens with that one. We also had some other interesting things going on. I'm sure a lot of people saw this. Mark Millar came out and he has a plan. And he said, good creators are not incentivized to work for Marvel or DC because the royalties, you don't get them until your book sells over 50,000. Then it's only 2%. He said, well, none of that money is really going out because there are very few comic books that are actually selling over 50,000. So it's not really going to take anything out of Marvel or DC's pocket if they up the royalty number to 50% and up the royalty limit to 60,000 to actually incentivize good creators to come in and say, hey, listen, if you get your sales up to 200,000, you will make a ton of money on this. And obviously DC wouldn't the same thing. And we ended up having Rich Johnston at Bleeding Cool and then Heidi McDonald at the Comics Beat. I don't know if I'd call them hit pieces, but they were certainly articles going out there and kind of attacking Mark Millar personally and saying he was all wrong before at the end of the articles, they completely admitted he was 100% right, that his plan in theory would work to bring in good creators back.
Yeah. Look, I'm pretty sure the comics industry at this point is like intentionally trying to it doesn't matter how good any of Mark's ideas are, they're going to disagree because of whose mouth it comes out of. And I don't understand why. I mean, I get it. There's a lot of jealous little shitheads that all want to be Mark Millar, but think that, he got there the wrong way or whatever.
I think it's because he was on Perch's channel and probably because he was on my channel. He's talking to the wrong people.
Well,
he also has he's also conservative as far as out here is concerned, and stuff like that. So
yeah, he has money. That's you want to find the fastest way.
He's rich. I see. I got you.
Yeah, he's too successful.
Well, I mean, back in the Ultimate X-Men days, the bitching about him was always his conservative leanings or something like that. And it's like, well, yeah, but it's European, so it's totally different out here, and stuff like that.
Look, it's not just him. Scott Snyder, Don
they did it with
Cates,
that Phil Boyle article also. He has conservative style leanings as far as that's what Brian Hibbs would say and stuff. So
always, yeah.
Anyway,
No, look,
I'm done. Sorry.
But look, anyone who's successful in comics gets this. And sometimes the talking is out in public, like Mark Millar. Sometimes it's behind the scenes. Tinian, the amount of people who shit talk him in private is absurd. And he is a nice guy, but people just crap all over him in DMs and everything else all the time. And it's because he's successful. That's fundamentally it. People like this hate others that are more successful than they are. And Millar got out, didn't have to hustle with Marvel and DC, kind of writes his own narrative, can do his own thing. And there's insane jealousy over that. And then the politics don't help. And then slumming it on my channel doesn't help. But that's way down the list.
Yeah.
Well, for sure.
But I just love the point. Like Brian Hibbs did the same thing with that Phil Boyle article. He wrote an entire newsletter, saying everything he said was right, but because there was culture war stuff in there, I got a hands off on this. It was like he's just pointing out some of the stuff that's led us to the point that we're in, where you're experiencing all this stuff.
You still can't say everything.
You're not allowed to.
No, you can't. They're not allowed to make the admission of, because I think it's a combination of their egos plus, hey, they still want their access to all the publishers. They still want all their access to the rest of the industry. They still don't want to be attacked by the fucking psychopaths that somehow managed to manipulate.
I believe they're in the back channels talking to those psychopaths, probably formulating a plan.
Really?
Like they're part of the
yeah.
psychopaths.
I mean,
well, they don't.
I don't want to talk to anybody like that for so long that I can't imagine people actually really. I mean, especially for comics, doing that kind of stuff.
They don't want the monster that they helped feed to eat them. It's just that simple. Because it always eats them.
Well, I mean, jealousy in comics is at least in comics is time honored, ever since.
You're not wrong.
Ever since I've been, this person's working on this and doing it. I mean, how many books did Chris Claremont block people from doing? You know what I mean?
Yeah. No.
Well, he ended up getting screwed over by Jim Lee in the end, right?
Yeah.
Jealousy is the major factor. I mean, we can dress it up with the politics and all the rest, but it's way simpler than that. He's successful. He makes money.
But it's Mark Millar, right? About, I mean, no company's going to give you half royalties, right? Does that?
Well, no, I mean, back to that idea.
Threshold.
It's a good idea to put better royalties in place. If you're Marvel and DC, there's one massive competitive advantage you have over all the indies, and that is you do have stock and you have kind of a vehicle to serve it. Both Disney and Warner give vendors and contractors stock. They've figured out a mechanism to do it. And it'd be trivial to apply some of that to the creators and not even see it on the bottom line. You could do options. You could do all kinds of things. Somebody was hard. I saw somebody really disagreeing with Millar, saying, well, none of these bozos should get a raise, which completely misses the point of what Millar was saying. He was not saying... and you're not giving them a raise. The incentive brings better people into comics, people who actually care about money. That's what it's going to do.
Or it makes the bozos actually try and maybe put out something competent.
That too?
Either one. I don't really care.
Or even promote it, even if it's not good. If you can sell it over 60,000, you get some more money.
Yeah, I'm not wedded to hating all these people. I just hate them already. They can get better and I can stop hating them.
So the thing that upsets me is Millar was on the show and he was like throwing a gauntlet, and everybody talked about it for a while that, mainstream people need to come back to the mainstream comics, or big names need to come back to the mainstream comics and kind of like show it how it's done, build it up. And everybody basically went and signed with some shitty company that's not going to be around in a year.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
We
got Ghost Machine and Distillery, and we got Remender going, only over at Image. I'm not going to take this X-Men gig when it's offered to me, supposedly, not necessarily now, but
But that's all. Hold on, Doc. That's also on the big two, because there are plenty of big name people that were reaching out to the big two with stories, or the big two had come to them saying, "Hey, we want you to do a sequel or whatever," and then Marvel and DC just stopped talking to them.
100%.
Yeah, but There was also just recently John McCrae was like, I would really like a fuck around on a one shot or a mini series with Hellblazer. I don't fucking care about your goddamn mini series anymore. I don't care about your one shot of Batman or your magazine size something, and you're not going to be around tomorrow. You're coming around. Talk about slumming is what you're doing. You're just trying to like get your name up, do this one little project, and then go fuck around doing other stuff that nobody cares about.
No, it's
so upsetting.
Okay.
So upsetting.
That's true, but there are. Josh is right. I'm aware of at least 6 creators, big names, who cannot get the big 2 to call them back, and struggle to get anything. And they're talented people you would buy comics from. And it's again, the way people misunderstand this, and you see. Even it's a little bit in the chat. Sorry, guys, but this, the only way to do it is to kind of empty out and get new people. Yeah, that's what a better incentive program does. Doc's right. Hopefully, some of these people rise to the occasion, do better work. That would be awesome. But look, Joe Mad went to do gaming in large part because it paid better. If you want talented creators to come in here, you have to put something there: money, incentive, something, and then you have to demand that people achieve that tier in order to get that money. And better royalty systems, better incentive for sales is a great way to do that.
But back then, Joe Mad was actually making money. He was getting incentives, and there was the top working on an X-Men book.
There was,
and
but
he still left
more. Yeah,
I understand that, but even when he was like at the top, he left comics.
Hold on, you know what I mean? In fairness, Joe Mad had a borderline fucking addiction to video games while he was still a comic artist, and there was numerous times where he admitted that a lot of his shit didn't come out on time, and they had to find a fill-in because he was busy playing fucking video games. He was the video game Dan Slott.
Sure, and he was paid more doing it. So that is living.
Hey, look, right there. Go and do whatever you want to do. It's your life. I'm not even suggesting you have to go and do Marvel and DC comics, but I think the professionals in the industry said, "Hey, Mark Millar, fuck you.
Yeah,
I'm going to go do this instead." And that's what it looked like to me.
That's
every
exactly
single
the
person.
way
Jeff Johns and Brian Hitch, who's doing mainstream stuff, and they're not getting that Superman book out. I mean, when's Mark Waid going to go somewhere? That's like who's left?
No, the people who are commercial, who have great commercial ideas and can do commercial viable stuff, are going to go write their own ticket. You'd be insane not to. I mean, look, if I could get paid more than I'm paid now to go burn Arby's down around the country, I would happily do it. Bring that passion and that money together.
Yeah, sure.
But Joel, you mentioned that Superman book with Hitch. Isn't that a situation where they were working on it like years ago and then stopped?
There's all sorts of fuckery going around DC and their black label bullshit. We could do a whole show on that stupid thing.
I guess my point is, if I'm a creator and I'm relying on you as an employer to give me a paycheck, and we come to an agreement that this is what we're going to do, burn me once, shame on you. Burn me multiple times, shame on me. And I'm going to stop coming to that well. Like, that's my thing. So I think that's part of it too. I think creators are like, you know what? Fuck you guys. Like, you keep saying we're going to do this. You keep backing out. You don't return phone calls. I'm giving up other gigs, because that's happening with creators too. They're saying no to other gigs because they got something in the pipeline that's supposed to come through, and then it gets dropped. Like, there's a point where Marvel and DC have to take ownership in how they're running their company and how they're treating their creators. And they can't treat their creators like shit, especially people that sell for them, and then come back and say, we'll see. I don't know. And then come back and be like, oh, we really would love for you guys to come back and do something. Like, no, you treat him like a piece of crap for years. Because some of these creators that Perch is referencing that I know, it wasn't like hey, we reached out, Marvel and DC didn't get back to us, it's been a month. It's been like an on off again, trying to reach out for 2 years, 3 years. It's stupid.
Hey, in fairness,
these are not real companies anymore.
Well, we can at least say that they treat all their employees exactly the same, like shit. Now, the ones that are talented don't like to chew on shit. The ones that they're left are the ones that Well, they might have a little bit of a fetish, and they took Two Girls, One Cup a little too seriously.
Damn.
Oh, good Lord, Doc. Yeah,
It's
no,
a good thing. It's a good thing Wes wasn't here.
There are
just now.
people who, editors like to work with. So, I've said this before, Teenie Howard, editors like to work with. She's friendly. It with them gets, there's little drama with the editor, so she'll get work. That's not inherently a problem, other than the sales aren't there, and there's a bunch of problems. The problem, at least that we're referring to here, is you got your Walt Simonsons, and you got people at that level who can actually come in and do stuff. And yes, of course, everybody always sends mail going, well, Walt Simonson's older and he can't do a monthly book. Sure, maybe that's true, maybe it's not. Alan Davis, maybe it's true, maybe it's not, that he can't do a monthly book.
They could do an annual.
You're telling me you can't do an annual? You're telling me you can't sell that? Of course you can.
He can't write. He was a good writer too. You know,
these are dumb excuses. And when you hear from some of these creators, it's like you said, Josh. It is literally, I have been hounding these guys for 2 years. Every now and then I go look on Twitter and I see the, head of Black Label talking about how he ate 3 pizzas all by himself and now he's sick and not going to answer email for 2 days. And it's like, what the fuck am I doing? And by the way, that is not a made up story.
Nope.
I used to be able to eat a whole pizza by myself.
Same.
It was a long time ago, though.
Yeah.
Sorry, I feel like I interrupted something.
You did. Shame on you, Wes. How dare you interrupt your own show?
Well, I'll just come back.
Yeah, we were finishing a point. But
I was just saying that, look, it's no surprise that Heidi and Rich are not down with what Mark had to say about this, because ain't nobody gave a shit about what he said before either. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but going out there and Rich claiming, no, the direct market's as great as ever because despite these historical shops going down, shutting down, there's 3 new shops that opened up, so they replaced them.
Going back to the article for a second, when he's talking about stores closing down, I really question whether or not they're really comic stores that are going to close down also. So it's really a loose definition of what comic stores are these days. So if we lost 25% of them or whatever it is, I wouldn't care.
Well, yeah, I mean, the number of comic shops in some ways gets to be a red herring because the comic shops are not uniform. They all do different things. They have different things they're trying to sell there. You look at the business and you see, you see an unhealthy business. Whether the comic shop, like you said, if 25% of the comic shops closed and they were comic shops that aren't selling new comics and they're doing other things, does it inherently matter to this picture? I don't know. The bigger problem is inherent in the volumes are decreasing. Mm-hmm. The amount of money there is decreasing. The amount of money that could be paid out is decreasing. Like those are all your signs. Now we can all play word games and Rich loves to, but the business is soft. And when people say this, it's not, I'm sure some people do, not on this show, not on our channels. We're not saying it just because we like to see the world burn. We're saying it because we like to fix it and have comics out. Mm-hmm. And fixing it does not mean every comic gets to be a Republican comic and all the rest of that shit. It means that, literally, we want a healthy business. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it'd be the worst comic, Superman showing up at the Mexican border and building a wall himself. I would fucking hate that because it wouldn't fit the character. You know what I mean? I just want to see the characters done justice, and it doesn't feel like in many cases it's happening right now.
Can we go back to the era where everyone hated Rich Johnston and nobody ever listened to a word?
In that era.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, we're still
except for the publishers started listening to him now.
They saw what happened with Sean, right? Where he went out there and the publisher throws him a bone and he just fucking shat all over him.
Yeah, that was a whole giant load of bullshit, that entire situation.
Why would anybody ever want to talk to you again? Because someone gave you something where you could have got an exclusive out of it and you turned it into I don't even know what that was. It was just a moment to shit on somebody I guess he doesn't like.
Yeah.
Well, he's successful. So there you go.
He is successful. Again, it all goes full circle. These people, Sean is able to do his own thing. Mark's able to do his own thing. That nobody loves that.
Even people that do their own thing that are successful don't like when other people that are successful that do their own thing.
Yeah, and that's
crazy.
You see that in a lot of industries, but it is weird. Other places I work, other things that I do and touch, rich people tend to kind of, to some extent, band together and help themselves stay more rich. And in comics, it's like, I'm just going to screw with this guy behind the scenes forever, even when I'm successful. Bizarre.
Yeah. Oh, and why can't people just be happy people are like successful?
Oh,
I mean, is it really that
please.
hard? But
Oh,
no,
please.
really,
This is America.
is
we don't
it that
do
hard?
That here.
The only person I'll say that I don't do that with is that Dolan guy. Fuck him.
Yeah, well, that
Fair
guy's
enough.
tough.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Love you, Drew.
Bring
Got
Drew
it.
back.
Yeah, Drew, what do you think about all this? Come on, Drew.
Look, I live and let you guys. Every time I try to get in a word, it's like, damn it, someone else takes it. Damn it, someone beat me to it. We're not fans of Rich at the store at Comics Elite. I'm not a fan of Rich. Sean isn't a fan of Rich or Heidi McDonald. And I do like Mark. I like his idea, but like you said, you guys have all brought up some great points. Is that you need to incentivize the talent. I mean, you don't need new people in there. You need reason to incentivize them, and maybe that will get them to work harder, work better, tell better stories. But the one thing I will say, like the 50-50 split, I don't see a company doing that anytime soon. I don't see a company.
I think he's
agreeing
talking
to
50-50 after you go over 60,000.
Yeah.
Right.
that. After
And-
60,000.
Even
And
still, I
After
don't
it's
know.
already successful and you've already made a lot of money.
It's
Yeah,
a
but still,
bet on
50-50
yourself.
split.
It's a
Yeah,
bet
it's a
on.
blend.
Well, I mean, it's negotiable. I mean,
I-
it doesn't have to be 50, but I mean, if you're going to be paying people peanuts to get the work out, then you have to give them
If you want to
something good on the back
pay
end,
shitty page
you know?
rates, you better have a good incentive.
And
Yeah.
Perch,
I mean, there's
correct-
baseball players that are still getting millions. Bobby Bonille's still getting paid, from the Mets.
Perch, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're not getting 50% of those first 60,000. You're getting the 50% of anything above the 60,000.
Yeah,
Yes.
and you're getting the plan. I mean, this is why the premise of this idea is a good one. The financial how it works out is definitely 50% is a nice way to just talk about it. But you're talking about after 60,000, you're giving 50% of the margin that the publisher is getting, which is not 50% of the whole comic. I mean, anyway. There's a bunch of different ways to slice it. The point he's trying to make is put better skin in the game. To get better skin in the game, put more incentives on the table and try some different things. And if you do that, you'll get some people who will step up, and you'll get other people who are looking at their career going, well, and I mean, there's another comic creator I think you've talked to as well, and maybe he's told you the same story, where it's like, I can make more money out of doing storyboards for movies and this kind of stuff than comics, but I love comics. So every now and then I just choose to take kind of a financial hit for 6 months and do comics because I love them. But then I go back to the storyboards because that's where the cash is. So put more money into the table so as people are figuring out what to do with their career. They view comics as a viable option for them.
This is literally just performance bonus in comics.
Sure. Yes.
That's all that this is. It's a performance bonus.
Yes.
It's very common in literally every industry. We have professional athletes that they sign for in non-capped leagues, or even in like the NFL. It's, hey, you're not doing very well right now. We will take a chance on you. And here's your base rate. And it's very low. It kind of sucks. But we think you have the talent to put your shit together, really make some serious, sales here because we think you'll do well. And then guess what? You get paid out the fucking ass on the back end. That's all it is.
It's STI, LTI. It's very common. Lots of industries do it. It's a performance bonus, and it's not communism. I've seen some people refer to Mark's idea that way of like, that's just absurd. You don't know money, you moron. But
No.
it's like, but the fans own that money, so you can't give money.
It goes into a pool.
bad.
Your half incentives go into a pool. And we're
The
all
amount
gonna-
of, I mean, it's been a cliche, but financial geniuses do not go into comics.
No,
See, here's the
or
thing,
comic
Perch.
stores.
We know Remender turned down an opportunity on Batman and X-Men. He was very public about that.
Yeah.
But when he was offered Batman or X-Men, maybe he doesn't get the 50%. But it's explicitly in his contract that if we take your story from Batman and we turn it into a storyline in a streaming, it's worth this much. We turn it into a storyline in a movie, it's worth this much. Guess what you've just done? You've told Rick Remender, if you tell the greatest Batman story in the history of the world, you're going to end up making a lot of money on it on the end, but they don't offer any of that stuff. They give no one a reason to stick around anymore.
Yeah, you would be great if you like what you're seeing with Sean. So Sean's doing the Zorro book, and he owns it, and it lives or dies on him, and it's his concept. Great, if he makes money, the upside is all his. That's as simple as that. And more creators, as the channel gets more viable, will do that just for their own sanity. And it's trivial for these big companies to play that game. And again, for Marvel and DC, because they have that third leg of the stool, they have stock that they could throw into the mix that an IDW is not. I mean, that stock's not gonna. That's not going to be an incentive. I'll just put it that way. But for those two companies, you've got this pool of options that nobody will even feel at the creator level, and you're going to get people who think differently, and that's what you need.
Yeah, people should be fighting to get on Batman. They shouldn't be turning it down publicly.
In fairness, Remender's turned down X-Men twice now.
Well, who wouldn't at this point? You're coming in.
Yeah,
just
it's following up with the
Well,
Cohen era. It sounds like it's not going well.
Without knowing anything.
He can't. He passed on it, but when the Krakoa and Hickman was the second choice, because he passed on it pre-Krakoan era, and now he really doesn't want to pick up the fucking mess on this.
But he was scheduled to go do it post Bendis. I mean, this is a long running thing, and Remender, there's other factors in play there, sure, but it is embarrassing if you're a big
bullying,
publisher.
isn't it, Perch?
It's what?
It's bullying, isn't it, with Remender?
It's totally
Remender
bullying.
more than anybody. It's bullying, I think.
Oh yeah.
It's, with I don't even know.
No.
I just have a feeling it's all bullying.
Oh, it's definitely back.
I'm looking at you, Brubaker.
He was host.
Yeah, Kelly and yeah.
Let's hear from the peoples. Caleb says Heidi is a shill, which is a step closer to working beneath bridges like Teeth Franklin.
Wow.
That's not very nice.
I think they're about the same.
In real life, Mark Millar is a liberal.
Well, like I said,
British politics are different.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying what I know people say.
Well, so there's something there, but Rich just doesn't like the guy. But I think it might be a two-way street.
With a restraining order on it.
Mr. DC Comics, Blu-ray is no more in 2024 for video games and movies. Do you think they want the same for comic books? You can only read Marvel or DC online, no ownership.
God, I wish, to be honest,
they're not doing anything to do with that.
Yeah, I wish that was the big master plan. There is no big master plan.
No, it's the strangest thing.
At least they would be going towards something, is what.
Yeah, they're
just like me.
A strategy.
Nobody wants this at all. But it would make me feel so much better about these companies if there was some kind of evil strategy behind the mix and they were trying to feed the market way. But no, they absolutely no.
Yeah, because once people get into comic books, even if it was through digital, once you learn about the collectability aspect of it, and yes, some of your comic books will be worth money eventually in the end, not a ton of them, but it does incentivize people to jump into the direct market and get physical copies of a lot of this stuff. But they don't have any strategy for digital. It's crazy. Federico De La Casa, hi. So is jealousy that blacklisted Warren Ellis? Sure, I
think it's jealousy that got the ball rolling for sure. I mean, he was getting bigger and bigger, and he had started getting the Netflix deals, and he was making some progress there. And it was, I'm sure, for a lot of people, they saw Mark Millar too, in the sense of somebody who was getting that thing a lot of people wanted. And it's absolutely jealousy that got it rolling. And then once that got rolling very strong, the publisher's like, yeah, it's toxic for us. We can't touch it. And every now and then, like Image kind of leaned in to try and got burned, and DC leaned in to try and got burned. And so it's like, that's where we are.
Why doesn't he just crowdfund that book with Templesmith?
Yeah,
because he still wants to be part of the standard industry.
He does. Yeah.
He wants to get back with Image.
He wants to
do
form
his Eric Stevenson stuff.
He wants to be loved. Yeah. And I think he also does. I'm sorry for you, Ray. I think he also believes it's a one-way street. That if he does it, he's not coming back. So sorry,
he's not coming back. They've already put conditions on him being allowed to write again.
Yeah,
that he'll never meet because they have to be satisfied.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I would take the one-way street, but Drew,
you be like all new editors eventually.
Jump in, Drew.
I was just gonna say I've talked to Ben several times. I've worked with Ben, and Ben said he's just waiting. He said he and Warren are waiting for things to cool down. Then Warren's coming back. That's what Ben said.
Yeah.
Like when Avatar isn't even doing something with you. Wait, do they even do anything anymore? I can't remember.
Callum, on what Josh and Perch said, I think Chuck Dixon told a story like that when he met CB, probably taking pictures of food, and he never got back to him.
Yeah, no, but there's tons of people, and this is not what I'm about to say is not a shot at Chuck Dixon, but there's far bigger names than Chuck Dixon who people won't get back to.
Mhm.
It's just surreal.
Absolutely.
I can't even think of bigger names than Chuck Dixon. Perch.
In the
I
90s.
mean, but I'm gonna say, what if the factor of it is control? What if it's a factor of like they can't control someone like a Chuck Dixon? They can't control those big names, whereas they feel like they can control.
You just
someone
put
like
he's
T.D.
a
Howard.
railroad train.
Yeah.
You just put him on the track and he goes.
It's not really, yeah. I mean, the control, I think there is some level of hangover from the early 90s and the Image people when they left, and some feeling of bitterness there of like, we can't let them have too much power. But with a lot of these books, it's dead simple to say, you know, the publisher does have all the controls. Like whoever it happens to be, you get 6 issues. Here's your contracts, you know, go nuts. And then at the end of the 6 issues, you don't have to hire them again. I mean, they hold all the cards. They literally just don't get back to people.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Nerd says another aspect of this is the subcontext. To say good writers is to imply that the guys on comics now aren't good, and you know about their sensitivity.
yeah.
Well, there's a lot of less than spectacular writers right now, Perch.
Yeah, I mean, it's yeah. Obviously, this is all subjective in a lot of cases, but the money isn't, and I think that's the problem with a lot of this. And you saw even the Phil Boyle article we were talking about earlier. He's making kind of objective statements, and people are twisting them to subjective statements. It is not it's not bigoted or racist or any of the rest of the things to say, you know, people are going to recognize one character over another after you've done a race swap when they've been in existence for 70 years. If you have, if you go around the world, you go down to Argentina, you go anywhere, and you ask, I don't want to pick Argentina out of the air, but whatever. You ask, like, what does Batman look like? They're going to draw you this, Michael Keaton-y white dude with, big ears, and that's what they're going to do. And so if you're going to change that to a different character and say, well, this is also Batman, it's just confusing as hell from a brand perspective. And that's just common sense. It has nothing to do with social politics, any of that kind of stuff. It's brand identity. So invest in it, make the transition if you want, or just admit that you've spent 70 years building a brand that people are going to recognize in a certain way. And you can either milk it and make your money, or you can collapse it and burn it down. But that's it. It's very, very objective choice.
Yeah, but it's kind of weird, Yule. Like maybe the most consistent writer right now at Marvel is Jed McKay.
Dude,
Like,
he is
does anyone know his
consistent.
name? Right?
I try. I even make signs for him. I'm like, this guy can write some Marvel books. That's not saying much, but
and again, we as I said earlier, Chuck Dixon's done some shows. He's been very public about this. And again, not to knock Chuck Dixon, but it's not just a Chuck Dixon problem. You have a Walt Simonson problem, and an Alan Moore problem, and a John Byrne problem, and you can kind of go down the list of
and
a
Jeff
lot.
Johns problem, apparently.
A Jeff Johns problem, where people.
Peter
have an
Tomasi
Alan
hasn't
Moore
worked
problem.
anywhere regularly for years now.
Jeff Johns is a great example. Tomasi is another good example. There's tons of people here who have the same exact story, which is they won't return a phone call over a year, and so this goes way beyond like, we don't like Chuck Dixon's politics. It's deeper than that.
Mm-hmm.
What are Walt Simonson's politics anyway? I mean, who the fuck knows?
Who cares? I don't care.
And who cares? Yeah, exactly. Who
well,
cares?
maybe the problem is we don't use Rolodexes anymore, Perch.
That's
you're supposed to bequeath it to the next person over.
True. They just packed it up and left. Yeah.
Perch, Leif Erikson is answering your question. I'm from Argentina. New stuff doesn't sell here.
Sure.
The local publishing house that does DC survives off classics.
Yeah, well, of course, and particularly for a foreign market. I mean, I posted some photos on Twitter, which was heartbreaking to me. There's a store in Geneva, Switzerland, that I've gone to for many, many years. And the first sign there was trouble is you look from the outside at the shop, and they've taken off comic books and put manga and anime on the little sign, which again, I can't stress how much of an earthquake that is for the shop. It's been around forever. You go in, there's no Marvel and DC in that shop. Just none. And so they survive. I mean, they've got European comics there for sure. Lots of those. Wonderful Monero looking stuff, always beautiful. You've got anime there, you've got manga there, and they're surviving on classics. This is the objective wake up call. You know, it's subjective whether you like Gabby Rivera's America Chavez or not, but it is objective that the units are gone.
HH and the guys from Sigma Comics, warm shout out to the Thinking Critical team and Perch. You're looking at guys that genuinely love comics, learn so much from their info, and you can too support them. Well, thank you very much. You're not in Jersey with Aaron? What the hell, man? I thought he was on the road every weekend. Sold comic books.
Yeah.
So definitely appreciate you supporting the channel, and definitely love having Perch on here. Federico De La Casa from Italy says, the other day your boy Zach said that nobody would do anything to upset Heather Ontos. Is it true? Are editors so powerful to let them do everything?
Not if they're Tom King or the writer's Tom King.
Yeah, Tom King sack her in a minute. I don't think people are scared of or scared of upsetting the lady in charge of Star Trek comics.
She's no Bobby Chase. Come on.
Right?
Yeah, there you go. Oh, Bobby Chase.
I mean, if John Byrne leaves a book because of you,
yeah. No, I don't. It's not a fear thing. I mean, I'm sure people don't want the noise, but I mean, it's like we're playing with pennies here. Heather takes pennies. Like, what do we care? I mean, that's how a lot of the comic people are thinking. It's like, you know, we're all taught. We're swirling the bottom of pay.
Mm-hmm.
She started at Star Wars, and now she's down to Star Trek. There's very few places you can drop farther.
What are you trying to say about Star Trek compared to Star Wars?
Comic books, just Star Trek isn't a thing, and I've read some.
Oh, I thought you were.
Yeah, they're awful.
Here's the thing, though. This is an industry that still believes Twitter actually matters, and
I can't.
She'll make a giant scene on Twitter, and it's just not worth the time.
That's what it comes down.
You didn't make not worth the time. It's not worth the time. You were talking about, you know, $10 of it. I mean, it's just like there's too little money to deal with that bullshit, so it just continues. That's the stupid part of it. Yeah,
it's a bunch of people that don't realize they can just turn their phone off or turn off notifications.
Goblet Sense says there are good writers. Sometimes you ignore Perch. I'm still annoyed you ignored Kenny Porter's Connor Kent comic and easily took Mag's Skyrocket bait.
Yeah, fair enough. Look, there are a lot of good writers for sure. There's no doubt about it. And there are good comics. You can find good comics every week. I do hate the narrative that everything is burning down and it's awful. I know we'll do this at the end, but there are good comics. Kenny Porter, if that's a name you want to throw out, you'll be happy in a month or two with something I'm doing. And in terms of the Skyrocket bait, look, you know what? I'll agree with you. I am exhausted. You hear it in my channel. You hear it in my voice a lot of the time. The culture war stuff is getting stupider and stupider. The Sean Murphy, everybody is gay stuff was stupid. It was thoroughly stupid. And that just gets exhausting. And you're right. You know, I answer mails that come in. I talk about some things that are going on while I'm driving away from burning down an Arby's. This is what I do. But look, I promise I only go to the Wall Street.
How much does that pay, by the way?
Nothing, but it's a labor of love. Yeah.
Okay.
But you're right. We shouldn't take that bait. I will agree.
Well, you've got a news channel. You got to talk about what people are talking about.
Yeah, but it is bait. This is the thing. Like that, Mags accidentally got back into DC to do this one-shot story. There's not going to be more. So, why are we talking about
until they run out of other idiots that won't pick up the phone to take a gig for pocket lint?
Yeah, but it is stupid. The Skyrock thing was stupid. It was stupid and dumb, and it didn't go anywhere, and it's not going to go anywhere. And Jesus Christ, I mean, the indictment here is that I would love for there to be more fun things to talk about in comics where we didn't have that bait.
I'm with you, brother. We do have a little bit of time. We can talk about one last thing because I did want to. Never mind. I'm going to cover it somewhat. So I guess that'll be the end of the show. We're going to talk about the some comic book recommendations, but I do want to say thank you very much to Perch for joining us. Are you recommending comic books this week to read?
Me? Yeah. There's a lot of good comics. I will point out and the kind of silliness, and maybe you're going to cover it everywhere. And we briefly mentioned it earlier. What was going on with that Punisher book this week?
That was what I was going to talk about, but Drew and I are going to cover it on another one. But
all right.
It was so confusing. It's the exact same character, Perch.
It is, and it's not it's not it's not any kind of amazing story. It's not a terrible story either. So why is it? Oh, I mean, that is the question. Why is it? It could very easily be Frank Castle. Why did we do a retelling of the same origin?
Because they pussied out on actually dropping the character. That's what it came down to. They bitched out. They wanted to do something. They were making it. They got they followed through with getting rid of Frank Castle Punisher, but they were too much of a bunch of pussies to actually leave the character forever and like just ignore him and make him go away forever.
They told the same fucking story.
They did
with the same logo.
That's the point.
Why?
Yeah.
Because
no, I get your point. I just but
also it's
like
the
the
Punisher.
chip.
It's the Punisher 2099 logo. Let's get that right.
sure.
It is the Punisher 2099.
Did you like the part in the comic where he's like, why do people think this looks like the Punisher logo? These are
That was the
armor
worst
plates.
part.
It's like, why would your armor plates glow in the dark?
Yeah.
Why? Yeah,
makes you a
right over your
target.
heart. Yeah, you're right over your heart. You're gonna put glowing plates in the shape of a skull, and then you're gonna have that. That was the dumbest part of the book. Of
I
like,
thought that was like a Batman thing.
I don't know if that was the dumbest part of the book. I mean, let's not forget this book also has the character unplug a wall outlet and the electricity for the entire bar goes out.
That did happen.
You also have that stupid
But it
line
was
in
a
the
Russian
House of
bar.
Lords.
There's a chance that they were.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
that's the
totally. They
electricity
don't
from
got
the-
wiring like we do.
Yeah.
I wonder what's going on with this inconspicuously not blown up wall over here. Like it was a fucking terrible book. I mean,
Yeah.
story wise, it's fine. Purchase right. It hits the same beats. It doesn't
It
make
wasn't
sense.
as bad as Thanos.
Where
Thanos-
Thanos shows up for 3 pages.
We're going to be
I mean,
judging
look-
David Papose and Chip Zdarsky by this time next
Is
year.
it David Papose or David Pepos?
David
Whatever.
Pepos.
It's David doesn't
Oh,
belong
you're
in the
going
industry
to
and he
be
can
telling
fuck
us how to
off.
pronounce names, Perch?
I am.
Really?
I'm laying it down.
Okay.
I'm the king of pronunciation of names. Me and Oliver Capil say it's David Pepos.
All right,
I'm just
very
going to
good.
call him David Peposi.
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah,
I
I
don't
was completely confused by the book. I was like, why did they just make the same origin? They could have done something different.
That was such a strange choice. I don't know. I
Frank
don't get it
Castle
at
was
all.
the problem.
Frank.
All this time.
Yeah,
All this time.
They basically just turned him into John Wick.
it's thoroughly weird. I don't know. What can I tell you?
Punisher
Fire Knight.
versus Punisher. I'm ready.
Fire and Ice was a worse book, although it did talk about boobs a lot.
Ooh.
Hey,
was
something
it-
coming back to get excited about though. Philadelphia is coming back here in a week or so and has Spawn in it, and I'm looking forward.
What,
to
that's
that.
just really in it?
Yes.
I like
Like in a week.
Philadelphia from Rodney Barnes.
Rodney Barnes is great.
Yeah, he's doing some stuff with DC or Marvel soon. I can't remember which one.
He's got Luke Cage series coming out for Marvel.
That's it. Yeah.
Is it
Which
gonna
is
still be like
unfortunately
a
it's that
mayor?
gang war, like a stupid mask now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I do. Yeah.
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 Jose to Beast,
Next time.
Semper Fidelis, Happy Veterans Day, survived the Marine Corps birthday yesterday. Marvel and DC need new leadership and someone who knows talent. I used to read more DC, but this year it's more indies. That's the worst thing about all this stuff, Perch. At least when Marvel was messing everything up, DC was doing Rebirth and you had an alternative. Now they're both just messing it up the same way and there's no alternative other than like back issues. Seems like.
I agree. Yeah, other big comics. Look, I get a lot of advanced comics. I know I'm a toxic individual, so it's it's crazy. This industry sends me those, but Big Game #5 kicks all kinds of ass. So look forward to that. I mentioned Philadelphia already. I like the Superman 78. I'm enjoying that series. Silly, but
Yeah,
I'm enjoying it.
it's good. It's fun.
Yeah,
Enjoyed that
fun
one
is
as well.
fun is good. I still don't know why gods exist, but it looks pretty in areas.
That was a really boring book though, Perch.
It was, but it looked pretty. I mean,
It does look
colors were nice. They're nice gradients.
Did you read Shazam this week, Perch?
I did read Shazam.
That was definitely
not
the
bad.
most fun book.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, my head's a little confused about what I've read and what I haven't. again, Big Game was by far the best book I read, and I know Miller shills and all the rest, but it's legitimately a good game with
How
good
much is
payoff.
that book, Perch?
I think it's a bigger book this time. Yeah, I think it's $4.99, isn't it?
I think it's more than that. I mean, I'm gonna check
thought
it
it was
out.
$5. Yeah, I agree.
It's a double size issue.
Let me just get to it.
All right,
quite-
what do you recommended this week?
I'm only recommending comics for next week. Is that okay?
All right, I've got the Big Game price here. It's $7.99.
$8 for a double
goodness.
sized book.
Jesus.
I bet
But I
half
think
those
it's-
pages didn't need to be in that book.
Isn't it?
It's going to be all
78
graphs
pages,
and charts.
Isn't
So
it
we
like-
got Junior Baker #3 next week. Joe Casey. We've got Monster Fan Club right here. It's Shaky Kane and other people. We got G.I. Joe coming out next week. The art is really, really good.
Yeah, that's a great
Look
comic.
at that.
It's a good comic, good story.
I'm expecting this to be a lot better than I thought it was going to be. And my buddy Matt Seneca, who sometimes writes for the Comics Journal, put out a book called Pure Evil. It also is $8, but it's much bigger than Big Game. And it's all black and white, beautiful art about a guy that takes over his father's comic company. They also do smutty magazines in the back of that. That's how you help comics. So you go the Eros Fantagraphics route. You have Dan Clowes do something that's going to give you an award, and then you have Bill Willingham and other people draw you smut. And it can be all sorts of people.
Very nice. Josh, are you recommending Mind Bomb this week?
No. No.
Fine.
Look, I you know that my fuck Dolan guy thing that is going on. Drew keeps sending me all these terrible books to read, and I hate him. So
what about that
this week's-
Unholy Nightmare? Have you read any of
Is
that
that
yet?
the one he sent you?
I've read pieces of Unholy Nightmare, and yes, you should go back it. It's
Pieces of.
Yeah, but I also know some plots that might be coming. So just it's worth checking out.
Let's get that to number 2. We need that going.
But yeah, no, I've mostly read the shitty things this week. However, I do have Superman 78 recommended, Transformers 2, and then I picked up there was an indie book that I picked up, and now I can't think of what it is. I haven't
The
read it
Enfield Gang Massacre, #4.
So yeah, but my shop was sold out, and I don't have that on a pull list because I'm an idiot. I picked up Patrol Head, so I'm gonna see what that's about. So we'll see.
Very nice. Drew, you recommend any comics?
I'm gonna save my review. I'm gonna save my picks for our video later. But I will say, to anyone watching out there, if you're completely jaded and don't really enjoy what's out there in the market right now, please do check out Unholy Nightmare. I believe this will really change your opinion on comics.
It's a shame
And
nobody
there
is
is a-
jaded on this channel.
There's a link in the video description. Don't you say that? I do a video every single week talking about the best stuff. I just did a video all about how Incredible Hulk was the best Marvel comic out right now. I'm doing my best, man.
None of you guys have to order comics monthly, weekly, reorders. So until you do, you don't know about Jaded.
All right. Last but not least, Doc, you recommending anything?
Nothing new. Other than old Unholy Nightmare, I will still recommend that because
To say, I
It
sent you the
looks
script.
amazing.
You read it. I sent you the script.
I have. It's fucking dope. You should definitely check it out. But so we're gonna go with some old stuff today.
Nice.
This was a fun book. It was a mini series. It was called Area 52. Brian Haberlin and Clayton Crane. My favorite guy named Clayton, or no, Clayton Henry. Sorry, my favorite Clayton that's a Amish comic artist. I like him more than Clayton.
Not
Man.
the not wife stealer. Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, but so this is a fun little book about like these people stuck in an Antarctic warehouse that's basically the warehouse at the end of Indiana Jones, the one where they put the Ark of the Covenant. So there's all kinds of crazy shit back there, but it's on in Antarctica, so it's a good fun little romp. Then some classic X-Men #1. Art Adams cover. Come on. Tell me you want something else. Come on, buy it. Then X-Men 50, the gold foil edition. So apparently there was like 2,500 of these. It looks exactly like the foil edition, except for the foil coloring is slightly gold hued. It's very, the only way you can tell what it is from a little thing on the back where the barcode should be. Then we're going to go with something also very old. Adrenaline Weapon of War. This was a weird comic from that Top Cow Image.
Is that Tony
Daniel? Yeah, it was one of Tony Daniel's very early, around the same time he did the Creech. And I think this was pre-Creech, but maybe it was between the first and second Creech series. I don't remember, but it's really fucking cool. It's about a cybernetic assassin. This girl that's like Tony a robot. Daniel. And then we'll go with some, since we were talking about boobs earlier, Michael Turner, Aspen swimsuit cover. Aspen swimsuit special 2006. Because, well, who doesn't need Michael Turner drawing hot women? So there we go. Those are my recommendations for the week.
Well, very nice. And I do want to say thank you very much to everybody for joining us. I had a great panel today. Good discussion. Happy Veterans Day to all you out there. Enjoy your football this weekend. And we're entering Christmas season. I got the tree up and everything. We'll see you next week.
Not until Thanksgiving.